All right, let's get some coffee going and get this started. Phantasy Star 2 and Phantasy Star 3 are both legends in their own right. Most of us know all about them. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the North American copies of these, just the Japanese Mega Drive copies. But that's okay, because the box art for them is killer. I especially like Phantasy Star 3 with that kind of an illustrious, aristocratic look, which was far different from Phantasy Star 2, which had more of a Blade Runner Neo Tokyo thing going on. Now, maybe I'm just being a prude, but conversely, the rear box art was almost unbearable. I'm not sure what kid was paid to fap with one hand and draw with the other, but thank goodness this was not on the front. Maybe the artist was inspired by the legendary and fashionable cod piece. So just when I'm thinking the artist might have had a strange fixation with the futuristic taint, it turns out there's historical accuracy here. I mean, there's Henry VIII and his codpiece. Here's man's best friend admiring his master's codpiece. And this fine Renaissance fella is all set for battle. Golden Axe. A launch title for the Genesis. I'm pretty sure that most owners of the console have fond memories of playing this for countless hours with a good friend. Sonic 3 was the first Sonic the Hedgehog title I bought with my own money when I was growing up. And frankly, it's my favorite of the series. To me, it has the best graphics, best music, and best gameplay. I'm usually not a big comic book game player, but The Adventures of Batman and Robin on the Genesis, developed by Clockwork Tortoise, pulled off some tricks on the Sega Genesis toward the end of its lifetime that most of us hadn't seen before. Not only that, it was insanely difficult, so it was a great challenge for me and a good friend to try to beat it. We never did. I gotta tell you, the passage of time cracks me up sometimes. I mean, I look back, most of these games came out in the late 80s, early to mid-90s. If you would have told me back then I'd have a terabyte of memory to play with on my computer, I would have laughed you out of the house and then went and looked up what terabyte meant. It's just amazing to me, it really is. Anyway, we're here to talk about the Sega Genesis and 10 games for that very console that I not only have fond memories of and remember them as being outstanding, but also 10 stories, a story about each game and why that game is important and why that story is important. And we're going to start with Castlevania Bloodlines. He's doing it again. He's getting in my way. All right, you want to talk Castlevania Bloodlines? Is that what you want to do? Punk. All right, what I'm trying to say is Castlevania, the first one that came out with the NES, all of us loved it. It's a legendary get your tail out of the way. It's legendary in its own right. When the Super NES was launched, we all saw Castlevania 4. Holy shit. I mean, all of us were blown away. None of us had heard or seen anything like it. Now, I was not anti-Super NES. In fact, I was pro-Super NES. But at the time, I didn't own a Super NES. Other friends did, and I played that game. But when I owned a Genesis, I thought to myself, what the hell, man? Where's the Castlevania for the Genesis? What's Konami doing, man? What are they up to? And I swear, the day that I did that, the day I was yelling and screaming and hollering and pissing and moaning, there was no Castlevania for the Sega Genesis, somebody handed me a magazine with info about it and talking about, hey, Castlevania Bloodlines is coming out. So, you bet your butt, I had it the day it came out. And it exceeded all expectations. It was exactly what I wanted. And I'll never forget. It was one of those things where a good buddy came and threw the magazine in my face and pretty much said, shut that up. Alright, so Flashback. Everyone knows what Flashback is. It's a really, really, really good game. Hell, a remake just got made for the Switch, I believe, so. We're not going to talk about what a great game it is, but why it's important to me, and that's because it was one of my first 2 Genesis games. When I got my very first Sega Genesis, I didn't borrow one, or I went to a friend's house, something like that. This was my Sega Genesis that I bought. I got 2 games. One was Green Dog, the other one was Flashback. So obviously I spent more time playing that, and here I am as a kid pretty much with my own Sega Genesis, my own games. Flashback being one of them. Man, it took me to all kinds of new places that, well, I still haven't come back from a couple of them. But that's why Flashback's there, because top 10 Genesis games for me. Outstanding. Now, Contra, much like Castlevania, was one of those revered Konami IPs. So if you were an NES player, you played Castlevania. You played Contra, you played the Super NES Contra. And the Genesis was made for Contra. And Contra Hardcore, with its just incredible special effects, the sound, the music, the humor. It was like every idea they came up with at the table, they were like, yeah, I'll throw that in there. Well, maybe we should do this. Let's do this. Yeah, put that in there. And they did. So not only is it a legendary game, the fact that I got so good at it. I haven't mastered any other game like that. I got so good at Contra Hardcore, I was able to beat the game without using a continue. And that's not something to shake a tail at. I mean, that's pretty damn good. Now, granted, it was 2-player, so a good friend and I did it together. But Contra Hardcore, complete, finished, without using a continue, man, I'm going to remember that on my deathbed. That's good stuff. All right, so Shining in the Darkness and Dune. Now, I'm giggling because I have fond memories of those games, obviously. They're good games. But those two in particular, I played in a 30-day span when I was home from school sick with mono. I got mononucleosis. And how did I get it? From kissing. My girlfriend at the time was really pissed off. I still know the girl that gave it to me, but that's another email. Bottom line is, I was home sick from school for 30 days, and I had a Genesis in front of me. I remember what television I was using, what my room looked like, my room smelled like, what clothes I had in my drawers, what drawings and sketches I was doing. It was great. And Dune and Shining in the Darkness, those two games, I got to know them very, very well. And every time I look at them, I don't think to myself, oh, Virgin Interactive or oh, Sega. I think to myself, yeah, I had mono. My girlfriend broke up with me about a month later, but that month beforehand was pretty kick-ass. And I'll never forget it. Those two games is when I had mono. I resembled something like this when I had it. But hey, what about Beyond Oasis? What secrets does it hold? Well, this one's got a cute story. I had just turned 18 years old. And what was I going to do on my first 18th birthday? What every 18-year-old does. Goes and buys a lottery ticket. So I went out and I bought, I think it was a $3 or $4, $5 ticket, something like that. It was a bingo ticket. First lottery ticket I've ever bought. Went home and took forever scratching that thing off, and come to find out, I won $100. Hell no, man. So here I am, $100 richer. What am I going to do with that money? I'm going to go buy a video game. And I think Beyond Oasis came out in March of that year, and my birthday's in February, so I pretty much had no money. And I went and cashed it in, $100 in hand, went to the store and picked up Beyond Oasis. I could go on and on about Beyond Oasis. It's one of my favorite Genesis games ever. But I bought that from a lottery ticket, a bingo lottery ticket from Marsh Grocery Store behind my house. Matter of fact, yeah, it was a $5 ticket. My sister, I remember, was helping me out with it. I think she asked if she could borrow money or something. I don't recall. Anyway, that was the story of Beyond Oasis, and I still got it. Okay, I'm maybe 10, 11 years old, something like that. Here I am at Tom's house, my best friend at the time, playing his Sega Genesis. He was the one I talked about earlier in another video, but he had Revenge of Shinobi at his house. And of course the Genesis, hey, where are you going? Anyway, I go over there and I took a tape recorder and a pair of headphones. I took the headphones after he went to sleep and I stayed up all night playing his Genesis. I would plug in the headphones and turn the volume all the way up and just jam that nonsense. And they all thought, him and a lot of my friends back then were like, that's stupid. What are you into video game music for? That's lame. Well, I didn't think so. I thought it was really kick-ass. And of course now everyone thinks it's really cool and it's really retro. Hey, yeah. No, I was into it way before you were, so nice try. Anyway, I actually went to his house one day and I'll never forget this, I took a tape recorder over there, a little Sony Walkman kind of a thing, a pair of headphones, and I took a blank cassette and plugged it in there. So while he's away doing something else, probably thinking I'm an idiot, and sleeping, who knows, I actually plug in the headphones, turn the volume all the way up, put the headphone, earpiece right by the microphone on this little Walkman I had and hit record, and recorded the entirety of that soundtrack on cassette so I could take it home and listen to it. Not only do I credit that game with really pushing me toward wanting to write game music, but, come on, what kind of memory is that? What kid that age takes a tape recorder over there and records video game music and takes it home? Which I did, and everyone else thought I was silly at the time, but maybe they still do. I don't care. Made me happy. Now, Shinobi 3 is on the list because, it's the sequel. It's the best Shinobi game ever made, and it's among my top 25 games ever made as well. It's up there with Panzer Dragoon Y, which is in an earlier video, but that game, Shinobi 3, this game, Shinobi 3, whatever, is among the best video games ever made as far as I'm concerned in the 16-bit age. There was no real estate left untouched. Pretty much everywhere they could fill graphics, they did. The best talent worked on this game. The best effort went into making this game. The music, the sound effects, the level design, the pace, everything was just on it. And even today, if I go in and play it, after the first level or so, I gotta turn the volume up and jam it. And I sit here and play it. I sit here and play it and think, my God, this game is really good. I'm still shocked there's not a remake or something for it out there, but I'm going to tell you what right now, Shinobi 3 on the list because I consider it one of the best games ever made, and it's one of my favorite games ever made. Every apartment home I've ever lived in, I've played it. Every friend I've ever had, I've asked them about it or shown it to them. So Shinobi 3 is easily one of the tops. Up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B. Ow, ow! So now we're heading to the final two here. Ristar and Subterranea. Nothing like a game that reminds you of quitting a job. So yeah, Subterranea. You know, hey, most of us know it as a really unique shooter, but I know it for the same thing, but I also know it for the fact that I quit my job in a really crazy way. I had this awful job at Office Max. Retail is just death for me. I have to really deal with people. I can't deal with shelves. But anyway, I have this game, and I got it like the night before, and I was all into playing it. I was all about it. And I had to go to work the next day. It was a Friday. So, of course, I get out of school, and I go in there early to tell them I'm going to get my paycheck and go cash it, and then I'll be right back. I think I was due at like 5:30 or something like that. I don't remember. I just remember going in there and saying to them, hey, look, I need to get my paycheck so I can go cash it real quick. I'll be right back. And I never came back. So Subterranea has a strong memory for me as a game that was involved in me quitting my job, because that night I played this game all night and beat it. This is the house that I grew up in. That was my room back in the day. It's no longer my room, and someone else is in there, so I can't go in there. But that was my room, and that's where it was played. Now here's the backyard, and oh yeah, there's Mom right there. So it pretty much happened right here. I come out of this door after cutting the grass. Yard looked beautiful. Yard looked nice. Much different than it looks nowadays, but that was, a long time ago. So there used to be a big swing set right here. Mom would sit outside and read a book on any warm day. It was common to find her outside reading a book. So again, I come out this door, Mom's laying there, and so we're sitting there rather on the swing, and I say, hey, Mama, blah. And she says, yeah. And I took a nice walk through the backyard, way behind that shed, all the way back there. I mean, way back there. And you keep on walking about a good mile and a half. There's a new Target. Well, it's not new anymore, but it was new then. And I went and picked it up. That being Ristar, in case you were wondering. And yeah, it looks a lot different, but it's still home. This is still my mom and dad's house. And once again, just picture cute mama sitting there reading a book on the swing set on a freshly mown set of grass. I come out this back door, cute little kid. Hey, Mama, can I borrow $40? And sure enough, I got it. And then I got Ristar. And whew, I can't even begin to tell you how much I love that one. So the key to the whole thing is, when I think about Ristar, when I play Ristar, I think about home, where I grew up. And I can't think of a better memory, a more important memory to assign to any game. So Ristar, what's it remind me of besides being a great game on its own? Reminds me of home. And that's a wonderful reminder. Sega. If you've ever thought to yourself, I don't have enough Sega Genesis games, or I don't have enough cats, then keep collecting.